And good afternoon, everybody. This is Chris Martino with HAI. We're going to go ahead and get started here in just a moment. We'll just give a minute or so for folks to log in, and we'll start our webinar. Glad you could all join us today. Okay, it looks like we have people joining us, which is always a good thing. And we'll go ahead and get started. So hello, I'm Chris Martino. I'm the Senior Director of Operations here and International Affairs at HAI. And on behalf of our President and CEO, Jim Viola, I want to welcome you to our webinar. I'm glad you're able to join us for today's webinar. It's an important topic that we're covering, and we have lined up for you a great set of speakers to cover the topic. So within the aviation industry, I think we'd all agree that communications are essential to safety and the effectiveness of our operations. Developing and operating within an aviation culture that recognizes the value of sharing that information is absolutely critical to the long-term success of our industry and your operations. So thankfully, there are programs out there designed to help us share information and to gain insights on how we can improve our safety. And that's what this webinar is all about. In today's program, we'll focus attention on the Aviation Safety Action Program, or the ASAP, as it's better known. The ASAP, it's a forward-leaning safety program. It facilitates and encourages voluntary self-reporting of nearly anything that you want to report, safety issues, events, occurrences, and those reports go to the FAA. And more importantly, is that information can then be analyzed by aviation safety experts, and with that information, they can identify issues, they can identify trends, and most importantly, they can use it to inform solutions to reduce hazards, for example, through things like aviation training programs or education programs. So the FAA has been very clear in their support of this program, and that goal is that the ASAP is to enhance aviation safety, and they do that through the prevention of accidents and incidents. Today, you'll learn about the ASAP, and you'll learn about how it can be a valuable tool to your safety tool bag. Now, that said, I know there are common misunderstandings and misperceptions about ASAP. Plain and simple, it's misunderstood in some cases. So we'll hopefully be able to address those issues for you as well. And that's why we're so lucky to have with us today two very experienced industry professionals who understand the ASAP. And they'll be able to provide you with the valuable information that you need to get up and running with the system. So hopefully you'll learn how it works. You'll learn what the ASAP system or program does do, and you'll learn all those things that it doesn't do. It's important to know what it's not as you're evaluating whether to use it or not. It's our goal at the end of this webinar, if you are paying attention, to that you'll walk away with a better understanding of what the ASAP is, and most importantly, an appreciation for what it can do for your operations. So today we're happy to have with us Mr. Russ Lawson, and Russ is the VP of Operations at the Air Charter Safety Foundation. The Air Charter Safety Foundation is a leading provider of ASAP support services. And we're also very lucky to have with us Mr. Joe Dickson. He's the safety manager at Hess Corporation, and he's also an international airline captain. It's interesting because Hess was one of the first Part 91 users of the ASAP program. So again, we're very happy that Joe has been able to join us here today and to give us his insights on how they are using it within Hess and their organization's experience with the program. So before we get started, just a couple of items to help you out. First and foremost is questions. As always, with all the HAI at Work webinars, we are happy to take your questions. So to submit questions, please just use the question module that's been provided to you. You'll see it there on your links. You'll be able to ask questions and such. We will do our very best to answer any and all questions that we receive, but if we run out of time, as we always do, we'll try to, within a very short period of time, get answers to those questions, and we'll post those on the HAI website. Also, recording. We will be recording today's webinar, and the link to that webinar will be posted on the HAI website and also mailed out to the attendees here today. And as always, we try to get that done within 24 hours. So for any other webinar questions, please feel free to contact the HAI staff or visit the HAI website and the address that you see posted here. We'll also post that at the end of the webinar for your use. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Russ Lawson and Mr. Joe Dickson. If you guys could join us, there we go. And Russ, Joe, it's great to see you.
Thank you, Chris. Great to be here.
No.
Thanks, Chris.
So I will ask you, Russ, to go ahead and take control of the board and share your presentation.
Okay, outstanding. Let me make sure the technology will work here. Can everyone see my screen now?
Yes, sir, we can. Perfect.
Okay, outstanding. Well, thank you, everybody, for your time and joining us today. We're very excited to be able to talk about ASAP program with you and its contributions to aviation safety. And just kind of a quick note, the Air Charter Safety Foundation has been involved with this for quite some time now. And we are a 501c3 foundation, and we exist just to promote and enable the highest levels of safety in personal and business aviation. And as I like to say, everybody needs a reason to get out of bed in the morning, and that's what motivates us to do what we do. And we're very happy to have you all here participating. So with that, would like to share with you the big picture and overview of how the Aviation Safety Action Program works. It is a confidential voluntary safety event reporting system, and it provides a near consequence-free environment as long as you abide by the rules of the program. And you know, the rules are not all that stringent. As long as you don't do criminal activity, alcohol, drugs, that sort of thing, you're good to go. And the important part is ASAP is part of a robust SMS to help foster a positive safety culture. And we get asked the question a lot, you know, how does ASAP fit into SMS? And the fact is ASAP is a very, very important and useful tool for your SMS because it provides the safety reporting tool that your SMS needs to have, a non-punitive voluntary reporting program to report hazards and that sort of thing. And also when you're doing your follow-up safety assurance, you know, ASAP has built-in accountability for that. And for the safety promotion aspect of it, it helps foster a positive safety culture as people see the program is being used to improve safety. So it really works together well with SMS. And the whole idea behind ASAP is to get out ahead of the power curve and identify critical incidents, which if they'd gone a little bit differently might have resulted in something more serious or an accident. So it gives the opportunity to discuss it and make improvements and that sort of thing. And everybody has the ability to participate and provide their ideas and suggestions about how things can be improved. As I mentioned, ASAP is just one tool in a robust SMS. It helps improve your just culture and reporting culture, because once people see that the program is being used for positive improvement and nothing else, they're more likely to report, and it positively impacts operational efficiencies and policies because you have the opportunity, this happened to me, this happened to us, what can we do to improve on this? And also, a lot of the findings that come out of ASAP help improve training because you're reporting stuff that's going on in the real world on a daily basis. And so you can take that and say, okay, this is going to be an emphasis item during recurrent training. So it has, the ability to help improve safety policies and procedures. And I know, Joe, you've seen that happen in your world since your involvement in this, right?
Yeah, I sure have. And one of the things I'll add is that the Air Charter Safety Foundation has an ASAP newsletter they send out every quarter. And in that are real ASAP reports. Obviously, everything's de-identified. So the operators, you don't know who it is or where it was, but you can see their narrative of what occurred. And they even provide what the employee had as a suggestive corrective action. And then at the end, they'll have what the ERC, which Russ will explain later what all that is, but what the corrective action that was accepted there. So I use those for my program, for my SMS, for safety training. And it's invaluable because there's things that we've seen on there going, boy, that could have been us. And let's take a look at our flight ops manual. And we've made several changes based on other people's misfortune, but we learned from it, and hopefully that doesn't happen to us. Great program.
Thanks, Joe. And, as somebody once said, it doesn't cost us 1 extra cent to learn from another safety event, and we don't pay the cost of experiencing it. As we've all probably heard the saying before, if you think safety is expensive, try an accident. And the good part about this program is, people contribute to what they experience on a daily basis. And we can take that information and say, could happen to anybody any day, given the right set of circumstances. So we now have the opportunity to get out in front of this. Now, the important thing to understand about ASAP is the philosophy behind the program is all about fixing the problem, not shooting the messenger. And it's real easy to think, at some points in our aviation career, we were, in an environment where you make a mistake and you were made an example of, or in some places somebody makes a mistake and they're fired or whatever. But the whole idea behind ASAP is you report a problem, it's all about trying to fix it. And, you become part of the solution because you experienced it and can contribute good information to how things could have been done differently or better. And we see some very good results from this because people, when they fill out their reports, will make suggestions. And a lot of times it's interesting, they'll find fault with themselves, but they'll provide good information. And I'm sure you see that, Joe.
Definitely. We've seen it. We've had a few reports, and the input that our pilots have put in was invaluable, and again, improved our safety program, our SMS.
Cool. And as one of the participants in ASAP would say, it's an extremely beneficial program. Anyone who's not using ASAP is doing themselves a significant disservice. The good part about it is that when everybody comes to the table with a positive attitude and just being constructive about improving safety, that it's, the great part about it is it's been in our industry for years now. And so it's proven itself to be an effective program. why get involved in ASAP in the first place? Well, as I mentioned earlier, we can learn from others because we get to alerted about things that otherwise would have gone unreported, because ASAP provides a comfortable, safe environment, because people often think of, well, I'm not going to tell anybody I did that or I made a mistake or whatever. But the other part of it is that we get a lot of positive feedback from the reports that are in, because people will report an event and we'll review it, when we get to our event review committee and say, hey, these guys did a good job. They did the right thing. Did as trained according to SOP, didn't, hesitate, did the right thing in the best interest of safety. And a lot of times for many of the reports that come in, the company can go back to its, employees and say, good job, guys, good execution. I'm sure you've seen that, Joe, in your experience.
We have, and one of the ASAP reports that's been frequent for us, we fly in and out of Teterboro all the time, are TCAS RA events. And that's one of the things that we report, because we do an altitude change. We're complying with an RA. And so when we do those, we put an ASAP report because it is an altitude change. And we're making sure we're doing it correctly. So it does validate our procedures and how we're flying.
Yeah, and it's also important, you're putting valuable information into the system, because especially TCAS RAs, that where they're happening and that sort of thing. We participate, in various working groups, and, the hot spots where TCAS RA, Teterboro is one of the big hot spots around the country for TCAS RAs, along with places like Van Nuys and Seattle and that sort of thing. So it gives the opportunity to alert everyone that there's something going on here, and taken seriously, it will enhance and improve safety, because now we know about it and can actually do something about it. And we've got, the whole idea is we get the right people together in order to make that happen. The good news about ASAP is it has a proven track record. I always like to emphasize the fact that this isn't just the flavor of the month. This program has been around since the late 90s. It originated in the 121 world, but then Part 135 and 91K were allowed into ASAP, and then Part 91 operations. So it's been around for more than 20 years. And, when you talk to people that have been involved in ASAP, they'll give you a positive reaction to it. And so it's really, done its job out there of what it was set out to accomplish from the beginning. And at the end of the day, it does help to build trust within the company, its employees, and the FAA, because everybody's working together to improve safety. And so once everybody sees, okay, we're just trying to fix the problem here, not point the finger, and everybody's more enthused to cooperate and report and participate. One of the participants that we have in ASAP, this is one of their ASAP more than pays for itself. It's brought items to our attention that might otherwise have fallen through the cracks. And as Joe, you pointed out, you've seen that happen in your neck of the woods.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have.
And that's the great part about it. As I mentioned earlier, when reports come in, and the good part about it is, looking at it is, we'll look at scenarios that we've all experienced at one time or another, that if it had gone a little bit different, might end it in something a lot more serious, a serious outcome. And so that, you're actually getting it out there for everybody to talk about and bring it up and have a serious discussion. We have one of our operators that when they have their monthly pilot meetings, they will read the de-identified narratives of reports that have been submitted. And now that everybody sees, okay, this is just being used for positive purposes, you know, the report submitter will be sitting in the room and go, raise their hand and go, yeah, that was me, that was us, here's what happened. And they're just promoting a positive safety dialogue. And so they get more out of it as a result. Now, the way the program works, it is a partnership. It's a cooperative effort between the company, the employee groups that want to participate, and all employee groups can participate, pilots, mechanics, if you use any kind of cabin person, dispatchers, schedulers, ground personnel, all are eligible to participate. The FAA participates, and the Air Charter Safety Foundation is there to, you know, manage the program. So it is a cooperative effort, and it takes place through an agreement between the company, Air Charter Safety Foundation, and the FAA through a memorandum of understanding. And the important part about the MOU is the fact that there's no secrets to how the program works. We're very emphasize, you know, total transparency. Anybody can read the MOU and see what the company has agreed to, what the FAA has agreed to, so that they understand. They can read in black and white, you know, how the program works, and we, you know, don't withhold anything for knowing how the process works.
Hey, Russ, let me interject something here.
Sure.
Just so the audience knows how I got involved with Air Charter Safety Foundation, the ASAP. My background originally was military. Then when I got out, I wound up with a 91 operator. That went away, and I was in 135. And the 135 operation had ASAP. And I thought, wow, this is a pretty neat program. People used it, and it was very positive. Nobody got in trouble over it. There was no blame. There were numerous incidents that took place, and the company put out what the corrective action was, and it all made sense. So when I left that company and went to Hess, where I fly now, there wasn't ASAP anymore because I was back in the 91 world. And Russ came to a Teterboro user group meeting, which is an association of pilots out of Teterboro. And we have the FAA come and we have presentations, and he gave an ASAP presentation. And this was at the infancy back in 2015 when 91 could join. And so I approached Russ and said, hey, you know, I'm really interested in doing this. I went to my management, they were all for it. And I will tell you the benefit of it. It was very little work on our part to get established with an ASAP program. Russ did all the heavy lifting. He had the MOU already, agreement between the Air Charter Safety Foundation and the FAA. So he did that heavy lifting. He had a handbook, so I didn't have to really write a lot. I did a little bit in my FOM to explain it. So I appreciate that, Russ. And so that's how we established it. And it didn't take, again, those of you out there that are thinking about this for an SMS program and ISBEO and all those other things, it was simple to get up and operating. And Russ has made this program run so smoothly for me. And it's been a great benefit for my department. And I've also brought other operators and friends in other places and said, hey, why aren't you doing this? And I put them in touch with Russ, and he's established countless ones up here in the Northeast out of Teterboro and surrounding airports. So I just wanted to throw that out there, Russ, as you continue on.
Oh, thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. Thank you. The interesting part about it is, as this program, as the third-party ASAP program manager have progressed from the beginning, we now have more than 190 companies participating in our managed program. And the interesting part about it is, you know, since it was opened up to the Part 91 world, we now have more Part 91 participants than we do Part 135. But the interesting part about this whole thing is that all our participants represent more than 50% of all the companies participating in ASAP as a whole. If you were to go on the FAA website and download their list of approved ASAP programs, you'll see, our participating companies, more than half of that list. So we are just we're ecstatic at the level of participation that we've received in this program and everybody's willingness to share and do the right thing. So it's just been, have been in the safety world for many years in my career. It's just really gratifying to see everybody's level of interest and participation in doing this. The other thing that really helps support ASAP is the FAA's compliance philosophy. I know it says new compliance philosophy, but they actually started implementing it back in 2015. And the FAA has done a major turnabout in the way it's approaching this, in that, it started implementing SMS concepts based on an open exchange of information, between the FAA and the aviation operators. And the realistic understanding is that we're all human, we all make mistakes, and deviations can result from flawed procedures, simple mistakes, lack of understanding, diminished skills. So at the end of the day, what's the most effective means to fix the problem? And that's really what it's all about. And in my humble opinion, it makes participating in ASAP a no-brainer, because, everything gets handled and closed out through ASAP. And the FAA has really done a major turnaround on that. The other thing that has really made a difference is a new rule has just come out regarding pilot records database. And that is, there's a new FAR 111 that's just come out that requires, an electronics record keeping program that will replace the old PRIA, Pilot Records Improvement Act. And what we've been telling folks for years that participate in our ASAP program is, hey, if there's any additional training or corrective action that's done, you do not put any reference to ASAP in the pilot records or training records or any of that, because that way, that helps to just keep it all confidential and non-punitive. And now with the new FAR out, it says very clearly, no reporting entity may report pilot records related to a safety event that the entity reported as part of the ASAP or any other approved voluntary safety reporting program. So it lays out in black and white that, you do this program and there's nothing that goes on, pilot's record, going forward. So how does the reporting process actually work? And the way it works is you'll select a reporting platform to use, a reporting program that will give secure access to an electronic reporting form. So the employee logs into the reporting form to report on an observed safety problem, a violation or potential violation of the regulations, company SOPs, anything that's related to the safety of flight is fair game, anything that you see going on out there. And the good part is the reporting form is accessed on a secure web portal, and there's several, half a dozen of out there that you can choose from to use, whichever fits well, or if you're currently using one of the major companies to support your SMS program, a lot of them also offer an ASAP module for our program. So there's a good way to have access to it and do the reporting part of it. Then once a report is submitted, there is an event review committee, or ERC as we affectionately refer to it, that meets on a periodic basis. And that ERC is composed of a company management representative, an employee representative, pilot, mechanic, dispatcher, as appropriate to the report that was submitted. There's an FAA inspector that participates in the meeting. And we at ACSF, we are there as the meeting facilitator and mediator. So we're a neutral third party to ensure the process is followed. And if there's any difficulties that arise, help to mediate that and, make the process go along smoothly.
Russ, I'd like to talk to that right there on the ERC for you.
Sure.
I will tell you now, they also changed the rule in terms of who's on the ERC. Although the FAA can be there, they don't have to be. If that's correct, Russ, correct me if I'm wrong, but that happened last year. So the FAA doesn't always sit on there. Now, my experience with the FAA when we've had ERCs is they're fantastic. What we all fear is, oh my God, the FAA is in the room, but honestly, they could not be more helpful and open to this program. So I just wanted to put that out there. But also for Russ going through this, he does all the hard work. So when I've gotten reports in and I do my investigation, I do my interviews, I'll give Russ a call and say, hey, this is what happened. He's already read the report, he's de-identified it. And I'll say, hey, this is what else I've learned. And I will provide him with a corrective action of what I think is going to fix the problem. But Russ has got so much experience that there's been numerous times he said, hey, Joe, why don't you add this into your procedure? Or why don't you say it this way? And so we'll do that before we even convene an ERC. And when the FAA is in there, I basically have, here's my corrective action. This is what went on with this flight or this incident. Russ facilitates the whole thing from arranging when the meeting goes, and it's all virtual. And basically the FAA is just like, wow, that looks great to me. And the meetings are quick. I don't think we've ever had one that was over 20 minutes. And most of that time we were just talking about other things. But it was very constructive and made our program better. So, and the other thing I want to add that was talking about, you have pilots, mechanics, dispatchers on there. You can put flight attendants. But the thing that we add is we fly with contractors from time to time. And this program is adaptable and flexible in that you can have your contractors in there. So if you have a company that you draw your pilots from or mechanics from, you can include them as long as they have the training, and they will have a separate MOU with your company name. And you just have to have a record of training for whoever the names of those individuals are, and they're covered. So I wanted to throw that in there, Russ.
Yes, good. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, that is important because we all use contract pilots and mechanics. And, while they're on the job working for you, they can participate in your ASAP program and contribute. So they can be covered under the program while they're working for you. And the other point that Joe made about the FAA, when they came out with the new advisory circular a year ago, advisory circular 120-66C, now, since they redesigned the program, Joe's right, the FAA does not have to be present at every meeting. If there's no regulatory issue at stake, or what you affectionately refer to as one of the big five, which is criminal activity, alcohol, drugs, reckless conduct, that sort of thing, they don't need to be present. So we have lots of times now when the FAA rep will say, no, I've looked at all the events, I don't need to be there. Or they might come and sit in for one or two of them that they want to be sure is taken care of, and then say, okay, you all continue without me. So it's put a lot of flexibility into the program, which is really great. And I will say the FAA people that we have participated in ERC meetings have been very, very, positive and because everybody's coming forward, well, this is what we identified and here's what we want to do to fix it. And so they say, yeah, that sounds good, sounds good. The important thing to understand about the ERC process is that a consensus is required for all when we accept reports, put in corrective action, close out reports. It's all done by unanimous consensus. It's not a majority vote, which is important to understand, because a lot of people think going into this is like, oh, well, you know, everybody's going to look out for their own best interest. And I can say, you know, we run 45 ERC meetings every month. And I can tell you from experience that everybody has come to the table with a great attitude, and we haven't had any real consensus issues in deciding on accepting and closing out reports. And the whole focus of the ERC is to determine root cause and improve safety. That's it, not to punish anybody. So it's just, I always like to repeat that several times just to get through that the whole philosophy is on improving safety.
And Russ, something to add there is when this program was when I first got involved in, they could still provide some kind of administrative action. And with that new change that you talked about in the advisory circular, now there is no administrative action at all from the FAA. So it's whatever the ERC comes up with, and it's done.
That's
and the
right.
other, yeah, so very important.
And that is important to understand, that when your report gets accepted into ASAP, it gets closed out through ASAP. That's it, period. There's no FAA action outside of ASAP. Now, I just want to touch on for a minute, you know, we're a third-party ASAP program manager, and just to run through the bullet list, in that we take a lot of the work, you know, workload off of you when we manage the program, because, you know, there are responsibilities for the program in recording, tracking, analyzing the reports that come in, maintaining the electronic database, facilitating ERC meetings, preparing meeting agendas, you know, preparing redacted reports for the meeting, coordinating and tracking recommendations. And we do track any corrective actions that have been developed to ensure they get done in a timely manner. But the whole idea is, you know, we do that work for you. We monitor. The one important thing is, a lot of people point to ASAP and say, well, that's just a get out of jail free card. That's, you know, anybody can do that. And the fact is, no. Everybody that participates is held accountable for their actions. And if we see somebody that's trying to abuse the program, to violate FARs and not adhere to company procedures, that sort of thing, you know, they're not going to be able to take advantage of the program. You know, if they're not going to follow the intent of what we're trying to do. The other thing is, as a neutral third party in a foundation, any employee who submits a report and has questions and, you know, kind of maybe feels a little uncomfortable talking about it, can call us any time of the day, and we'll be happy to explain to them how the process works, how their report works, that sort of thing, so they can feel comfortable with how their report is going to be handled. And then we keep all documents and records regarding the program and make them available as necessary. And we have a built-in manual of processes and procedures for the program that we'll send to you, so you don't have to write another manual. We'll develop, we've got it put in place for you. You can take it and use it as you see fit. You can make it part of your ops manual, your SMS manual, your safety manual, however it's going to work for people to read it and understand it. Because the whole idea is to put it out there so everybody understands how the program works, and what they can expect. And so there's no misunderstanding of how things are going to work. And, so the bottom line is we take that part of it off the table for you.
Take it from an operator. It was very easy to get this program up and running with Russ doing all this work. So,
okay. So some final thoughts here before we get into discussion. That just to kind of circle back to the beginning, ASAP fixes safety problems. Information gets discovered that ordinarily would never be disclosed because people know that, okay, I can come forward and report this and it's going to be used for proactive purposes, not to place blame, that sort of thing. And there is protection from FAA action. As I mentioned, your report gets accepted into ASAP, it gets closed out through ASAP, that's it. And it doesn't matter where you are in the country, if you have an event, the FAA opens an investigation or pilot deviation, whatever, that event gets handled by your local FAA representative and through ASAP. One of the big examples I like to talk about is I received a call one day from a pilot from one of our participating companies, and he was all upset and nervous, as you might understand, because he had just received a letter of investigation from the FAA because he was departing Las Vegas and had an event going out of there, and the Las Vegas FSDO had opened an investigation. We're looking at possible pilot deviation and wanted him to contact the office. So the pilot asks me, well, what should I do? And I said, yeah, you go ahead and call the inspector that wrote you the letter and very nicely explain to him that your company participates in ASAP. You filed a report. Here's the name of your FAA representative for your program, and explain that to him. So the next day, I get a call back from the pilot, who's clearly very relieved and happy. And he said, yeah, I explained it to him just the way you told me to. And the inspector's response was, okay, we're done here. Because the inspector, that was paperwork he wasn't going to have to do. And he knows it was going to be handled and closed out. And, just to contact the ERC rep, but basically that was it, period, end of issue. And it was handled through ASAP. And of course, it usually just takes one of those, and then everybody, they tell all their buddies that, hey, this is pretty cool. This really works. So it is a great selling point for the program. And the other part is it has a track record of improving and enhancing safety. You can ask anybody that's been in ASAP, and there's a number of, the great part about when you participate in ASAP is you're part of a very exclusive club, because the reason I love enjoying being in this, because in the safety world, especially ASAP, there's no competition when it comes to safety. Everybody will help everybody else out. And when you participate in ASAP, you can go to any other company that participates in ASAP and ask them, and they'll be happy to share with you information and what they've encountered. At the end of the day, it's a win-win for everybody. The company, the employees, everybody knows what's going on. We can tell our passengers, hey, we have your best interest of safety at heart because we participate in this industry best practice program. And and the regulatory authority, because the FAA knows what's going on out in the field and how people are acting responsibly and fixing things and responding to things and not just trying to sweep it under the rug. So, Joe, you want to add anything onto that while we're?
Yeah, Russ, I mean, honestly, it's really a no-brainer of a program to get involved with for the benefits outweigh the little bit of effort you have to do to get it up and running, as I've kind of alluded to. Again, the fact that you have this insurance policy, I mean, a lot of folks will think, oh, I can file an ASRS report, or better known as a NASA report, and that's going to provide me some protection, but it's not. ASAP certainly will. And the ASAP report is just like a NASA report. It's almost the same clicks through if you've ever filed one of those. It takes no time. And on top of this, there's, with the Air Charter Safety Foundation, they have a new portal for SMS. And in that portal is their ASAP program. And you just click right in there and you can fill out your report. You can fill out a hazard report. There's all kinds of things on there. And then you can use other ASAP data from this portal to better prepare for a trip from one airport to another. You may be going into Van Nuys or into LA someplace and go, hey, I haven't been into this airport. I wonder if there are any ASAP reports. And you can look and see what people have done. And it really does help with risk assessment or a FRAT. It brings a lot to the table. And again, at the end of the day, in the just culture, you're always trying to, you're not trying to assign blame. You're just trying to get better. And that's all part of the SMS program, is constant improvement. So I can't say enough about it. And I appreciate having been able to be involved early and Russ's assistance with our program. So thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks. So just kind of in closing here, for those of you that want to participate in ASAP, HAI is providing a vehicle, to join our program, and can, get some information from them. But I think at this stage, we'd like to pause and open it up for any questions that anybody might have, and spend some time focusing on that. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present to you. Be happy to chat with anything we can answer.
Right, outstanding, gentlemen. Thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and stop the share here, and we'll get. We do have some questions rolling in, and I'll hopefully. I'm showing that we have about 10 or so minutes. We can get through many of these questions. So, all right, you guys ready for some tough ones?
Sure.
Bring it on.
All right. The first one, this is actually a pretty good question. It talks about what is the link, and I'm just paraphrasing here. What is the link between the program that you're talking about right now and in other CAAs like EASA, or how does it tie in with ICAO? How does somebody who is not in the U.S. participate in such a program?
Basically, there are different programs in different countries. That's one thing that we would like to see done is, having some sort of a global, cooperative effort like that. But there are various, programs that have been out there for some time. So it works a little bit differently in different entities.
So I'm assuming that the operator, depending upon which civil aviation authority they worked for or through, would have to get that information from them?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. And then the other piece to that is, because we have several, and I'm just looking through the questions, so you have several operators that operate internationally. Even within HAI, we have international members that operate across national borders. If one of our operators is operating, for example, from here to Canada, does it apply to? I mean, how would that apply if you started in the U.S. and ended up in either Mexico, for example, or Canada? Would that be transferable, or again, I'm paraphrasing the question, but
yes. The answer is, if you're operating an N-registered aircraft anywhere in the world, you're basically, you have an event, it all gets handled here, and if you're participating in ASAP, it would get handled and closed out here.
Okay, fantastic. Let's see. So here's one. Again, I won't state where they're coming from, but you're out there and you know that you submitted this question. So how different would ASAP be from other safety reporting systems that many operators adopt as part of their SMS?
I think the thing about ASAP is that it does provide, a very, very straightforward understanding of this is how the program operates. This is how you're protected when you report in the program, and, and your willingness to participate and, be part of the solution, part of the root cause. And so it's a win-win because you get protected, guaranteed protection out of it. The report gets accepted. And I think that's, one of the big features of ASAP, because it's a no-brainer when you go into the FAA, because you say, oh, where something happens, we do ASAP, and this is part of our program. And it's like, okay, that's, there's a very process in place for them to follow as a result as well.
Right. Okay. Here's an interesting one. Within the company, and I have another one right after that that kind of links to that, but within the company that's an ASAP participant, is the reporting anonymous?
If the reporting is confidential, when they submit the report, what we do is we redact the names out for when it's going to be reviewed by the event review committee. And the whole idea is if we have questions, the reporter will be contacted in confidence, because the important part about it is, you were there, you can talk about what happened. And by sharing that information is, this is what was going on at the time. This is, and so you have the opportunity to really help fix the problem as a result. And so that's why we call it, confidential, because, and we do, and Joe will support me on this, that we're very careful about the confidentiality of how information and reports are handled.
Yeah, everything's redacted from the names on there. So for us, we're a very small flight department and we're very open. We have a very just culture where we talk about everything. So every department's different. It could be bigger or it could be a little, but we're very open. So everybody knows, hey, when this occurred, we freely open. And so it's not an issue within our department.
Okay. So if I understand correctly, for your example, Joe, if you submit a report, your company knows that you submitted it, correct?
Well, I'm already going to tell them this happened. I mean, we have 4 pilots, so you're flying with, it's not big, and you're sitting right there, and it's nothing really to hide. But I will tell you, if you want to go in and look at other people's ASAP reports on say the portal, you're not going to be able to see anybody's names. You're not going to know what company that was. That's all hidden. It's confidential, and so people can learn from it. And you're not worrying about putting your name of your company out there, like, oh, these guys did this, and nobody wants to hit the news. So, right, Russ?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's see. We got time for a few more questions here. Who makes the call? Who makes the call as to whether an event reported via ASAP is going to entail punitive or administrative actions? Is it solely the FAA's decision?
No. It's all handled by the event review committee. And as I mentioned, it's all done by unanimous agreement, consensus. So when a report gets accepted, any corrective actions that result or whatever, that's developed by the ERC. It's not an FAA decision, as long as it doesn't involve, any of the, prohibitive actions like, intentional falsification or reckless conduct or criminal act, anything like that, then it all gets handled by the event review committee.
Right. Okay. That's great. I thought that was a great question. Great question. Great.
Yes, answer. Absolutely.
Yeah. let's see. And I think we've touched on this, but just we can clarify, does an ASAP program only apply to commercial operators? So, I think that the distinguishment here is if I'm a private, I own my own helicopter, I operate, I don't do any commercial stuff, can I still get engaged in an ASAP program?
Absolutely. That's the big, why we have so many in the program now, or non-commercial operators. We've got, 100 and over 100. So, flight departments involved. So any Part 91 operation can be involved in ASAP.
Yeah, no, and again, I appreciate that question, because there are folks that are obviously earning money through Part 91 events. So, but that was a good question. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Let's see. How about so this is a good question that we have. How do you separate when you're looking at when the panel is looking at it? How do you separate human errors from process deficiencies?
Well, basically, a lot of the times the reporter we see some very interesting stuff in the reports that come in, because basically people put in a narrative to describe what happened, but then there's a separate one for suggestions. And it's like, okay, this happened, what do you suggest? And I can tell you, we see people beat up on themselves 9 ways from Sunday sometimes if they made an error or whatever. And but the fact of the matter is, they'll come out and they'll be very upfront about it and say, hey, I did this and I should have known better or shouldn't have done it. But the whole idea is to have a conversation about it, because it's something that probably, if it happened to you, could happen to somebody else. And that's really the important part about it. Like we all get fatigued and feel under pressure. We got passengers or work to get done, and we, forget to do a briefing or procedure or, clearance or whatever. And it's like, gee, that never happens. And so the whole idea is that, do we really have a good process in place to control that, bring it to everybody's attention? There's a number of different ways it can be handled.
Okay, perfect. We had another question here, but I think you answered it. It had to do with the actions that the operators or FAA could take against operators. But I think you answered that in your. We have some questions that are very similar to each other. Here's a different one. Can you discuss scalability? How feasible is this program for a small fleet operator?
Hey, we have everything in our program from 2 airplane operators to 100 airplane operators. I mean, with the range is all over the place. So it's really up to the point where they can decide that, hey, maybe we could benefit from this and learn some stuff that we hadn't thought about, and just sort of help us move forward.
Okay. And we're running out of time, but we just have a couple more questions here. So here's a question: How does the ASAP program link to other programs like flight data management programs or ACIS programs? Do they work together?
Yes, absolutely, they do. And the fact of the matter is, anybody that participates in ASAP can participate in ACIS. We sit on a GA working group with ACIS to get, GA participation. And basically, if you're participating in ASAP or you're doing FDM, FOQA, you can contribute your data to ACIS. And basically, if you do that, you get access to the ACIS database. So you get access to the dashboard. So there is, the programs do work together.
Okay. This next question, and we'll have time probably for 1 or 2 more here. This next question comes in, and it talked about the cost associated with the program. So I'll go ahead and answer that one, and then obviously Russ or Joe, you can jump in if you'd like. But With regard to the program through HAI, there is a small participation setup fee that is charged for that, and then obviously there's also annual administrative fees associated with it. So again, it's well worth the cost. We will, if somebody wants more information on specific costing information, they're certainly more than happy to talk to, or we're happy to talk to them through our director of safety here at HAI. So
Good.
Okay, good answer.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then the last question we have for you today is, which I think is a decent one. They're all decent, but what training is necessary for an operator to become an ASAP participant? Are there any resources to help operators get more information?
Yeah, as far as training goes, we have information available on, the process, how the ASAP process works. And, we help develop the MOU, and there is training available. We do have training available. We can do webinars. We also have an online training module that people can, sign into and review. So there's, many vehicles for training to help people get prepared. So because we want everybody to feel comfortable with how it works and what their role in the process is, and what their role and responsibilities are.
Right. Okay, outstanding. All right. And with that, I'm going to go ahead. We're at our time right now. We have, there were some questions that were asked, but I think, some of them were very similar in line. I think you answered those questions. But for those out there that are attendees, if you believe you asked a question and it wasn't answered, please get in touch with us here. Just send an email to HAI, and again, we're more than happy to facilitate getting answers for you from Russ and from Joe and from others. But we're happy to talk about the program. We think it's a great program, and obviously it's all about safety. So we're very stoked for it. So that said, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click a few screen shifts here. And first and foremost, what I wanted to do is thank you, gentlemen, for being with us here today. The foundation and Hess has obviously got some great successes with the program, and the fact of the matter is, Russ, your organization is helping people operate safe on it every day, and that's a wonderful thing. So with that said, there was one last question, and I'll address it here real quick. Somebody asked if if attending this gets Wings credit. The answer is yes. The FAA has approved this webinar for Wings credit. So what I'd like to do is we'll go ahead and just end it here like we always do, and we'll announce that we'll be back with you again next week, and we're really looking forward to this. It'll be on August 5th, next Thursday, and the topic for the webinar is going to be the Fly Neighborly series of events that we have, and this next one will be addressing the Bell 407. Ms. Juliet Page from the Volpe Center will be with us as our presenter. So again, we're always excited to have those presentations. And then finally, as we follow up here, we'll send out a follow-up questionnaire. If you attended this event, we will send you a questionnaire. We are open to suggestions. Please let us know what you think. If there's improvements that we can make, tell us what you like, tell us what you didn't like, and then obviously if there's future topics that you want to hear about, we're happy to listen to that as well, and hopefully get them into the queue. And then, as always, Jim Viola, our president and CEO, he's got an open door policy. So feel free to send things if you have any questions, concerns. Please send them to Jim at president@rotor.org, and we'll go from there. So with that, again, gentlemen, Russ, Joe, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for participating today. It went by very quickly. It's such a great topic. It went by very quickly. So that said, we will go ahead and close out for today. And again, we'll be back with you next week. Hopefully we'll see everybody.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, sir.